fraudulently.
Yes. And so what my staff and I had estimated was that 30 to 40% of the USAID's awards would go to indirect costs. So their overhead, their rent, employees,
That's a hell
things
of
like
a
that.
rent. What are they living in? The Taj Mahal?
Hey, but okay. After months and months of obstruction where UN wouldn't let us in, they told us the NICRA, the negotiated indirect cost rate agreements. It's a lot of government jargon. But anyway, the indirect cost, they said that the database, it doesn't exist. That was a lie. That was a lie. It was false because we found it. And then we were told we weren't allowed to access the database. And then that's when Congressman McCall and I came together and we launched an official congressional investigation so that we could gain access to the rates.
Wow.
And then after about 6 more months of negotiations, then my staff was finally allowed to access very limited data. They were allowed to go into a room and they couldn't take notes. They were on camera the whole time. They couldn't remove any of the information. But what my staff found is, you were laughing at that 30 to 40% because that is outrageous. That was understated.
What?
In some of the cases, the NICRA rates were upwards towards anywhere from 50 to 60%. And that doesn't include the cost for subcontractors, what the subcontractors were adding on. So this is the problem with USAID. And that's why, Elon, I'm with you on this, because so much of that taxpayer money is not even going to, we love to feel good about helping starving children in name your country, but it's not going there. It's going to pay rents in Paris.
Yes, exactly.
It's going to support somebody's fancy dinner to 100%. Entertain whoever. Yeah.
Exactly. So, to be clear, in shutting down, which we're in the process of doing, shutting down USAID, the reason for that, as opposed to simply trying to do some minor house cleaning, is that as we dug into USAID, it became apparent that what we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually just a bowl of worms. And so at the point at which you don't merely, if you've got an apple and it's got a worm in it, maybe you can take the worm out. But if you've got actually just a bowl of worms, it's hopeless. And USAID is a bowl of worms. There is no apple. And when there is no apple, you've just got to basically get rid of the whole thing. That is why it's got to go. It's beyond repair. So, yeah.
Well, there's a solution to this, which is that let's say something's cut that the people of this country just demand needs to exist again. It can always be voted back into existence by Senator Ernst and her colleagues. And
totally.
The fact that isn't going to happen reveals exactly why many of these agencies, really, deletion is the only answer that's left.
Yes, that's exactly right. If it turns out we really need such an organization in the future, we just create it. Problem solved.
By the people.
Yes, by the people, answerable and answerable to the people and to the people's elected representatives. That is the way that government is supposed to work.
That I agree. And more transparency. Sunshine is the best disinfectant out there.
And they hate sunshine. That tells you something.
Yes. we need to be able to exercise our oversight. And this is where we have been blocked so long in Congress. You can go onto my official website on the internet. Yep. You can look through my priorities, go to my squeal area. You can go back. I've got the last several years on there of efforts, whether it's USAID, NIH, the National Institutes of Health, those taxpayer dollars that were going to China's Wuhan Institute of Virology, SNAP overpayments through USDA and the states, you name it. Just even my back to work report, the out of the office that we've talked so much about. Yes. And on day one, the president came in and said, hey, everybody back to work.
Yeah.
I don't think most Americans understand that only 6% of our federal workforce shows up to work in the office every single day. Only 6%.
Yes, and absolutely. It's truly insane. In fact, and one of the most insane things I've seen was that I was speaking with hopefully our soon-to-be Attorney General Pam Bondi, and she was telling me that the U.S. engraving is actually, I guess, which used to be the U.S. Mint, which is actually a building that is an historic building actually a beautiful building it's here in DC, and the windows are all broken and is turned into a homeless encampment. That means like this. Like this, no one comes to work to such a degree that this beautiful building has all the windows broken and is turned into a homeless encampment in downtown DC. That's how absurd it is. It's beyond belief.
Yeah, and that's why so many